can't hear. Maybe I ain't getting up because I can't hear. Let's can't, ain't nobody moving. Volume. Can they hear? She looking like she can hear me. He must can hear. He laughing. What's wrong with the volume? You hung me up. Oh no, I hung me up. Oh, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me, Latanya?
Yes.
Okay, Shalanda, can you hear me? Sean, can you hear me? Yes, okay. All right, so everybody can hear me now. All right, I don't know, man, we're having technical difficulties here with the internet at the office. I don't know what's going on. We're going extremely successful in this business, not just a little bit of successful, but extremely successful. Now, when we did last week's broadcast, for whatever reason, because I was playing that Jay-Z music in the video, YouTube, we ran into some copyright infringement, so wasn't able to record it. So no music today. We're just gonna do some content, and so with that, I'll be able to record them, and you guys can refer back to them at a later date. We have our group chat on the side, so if anybody has any questions as I'm going through anything, you can either say it, because I can hear Latanya. I know Shalanda's mic, I don't think her mic's working. Sean, does your mic work? I see you talking. I see you talking, but I don't hear you. But we have the group chat, and you can put any questions on the group chat, and I'll be able to see them as well. So we'll work through it. We'll work through the bugs. So let's get into it. So the first thing we want to talk about is some of the upcoming events that we have coming on. Now, I sent out an email out to everybody this morning about the CFPB. They're having a CFPB town hall meeting. Are you all familiar with what that is? Okay. So Congressman Al Green is having an event, and he's going to be having that on the 19th. If you didn't get that email, let me know, and I can resend it to you. I think it's very imperative as real estate professionals that we stay on top of what's going on with the CFPB. It seems as if Congress is still trying to figure out what is it actually going to look like. And for those that don't know what that is, that's that new governing body that Congress created concerning the real estate industry as far as dealing with some of the challenges that took place between 2007 and 2012 to prevent them from happening again. That came through the act. So it's the credit. I can't think of the name of it. But with the CFPB, the big thing you got to understand is that they're the ones that's responsible for creating work with the new TRID forms. They're the ones that's responsible for it, and they're the ones that's given oversight to if you break any of the laws or you go against any of those protocols and laws. They're the governing body that's going to come and prosecute you. What I don't like about them is that they don't have any governmental oversight. The buck stops with them. So with that being the case, you got to make sure that you are staying on top of what they're requiring so they don't come in and look at you and try to shut you down. So that's why I feel like it's very imperative that if Congressman Al Green is bringing in the director of the CFPB and he's bringing them down here to Houston, that we all need to go and hear what he's saying as far as what their plan is, what their motivation is, because that's one of the biggest things right now in our industry. So I really encourage you. And if you didn't get that email, let me know and I can send it to you. Okay. And then we have some lunch trainings coming up. So the lunch training with Metropolitan Title, which is going to be on the 29th. So we are going to get some free lunch, which is a good thing. Metropolitan Title is one of our partners that we partner with on particular files, and E.L. Crane over there does an excellent job. But he also partners with Brooks and Davis from a wider scale as far as the different events that we may have. Like we did the technology event back in December, and E.L. Metropolitan Title was a sponsor for us then. What I like about E.L. is that he really is a guru of marketing, and marketing is extremely important when it comes to being successful in real estate. So when we go to that training, he's really going to be talking about how to increase our average price per square foot, our average price point. Because at the end of the day, a buyer is a buyer, right? But the commissions differ between a $100,000 buyer and $1 million buyer. So if we could get to a point to where we were dealing with a higher clientele, then it puts us in a position to where we can make more money with doing the same amount of work. Now you're going to have to increase your expertise. You're going to have to, a $100,000 buyer and a $1 million buyer, or they think a certain way, they think different ways. It's really about the way that you think. So you really want to be sharp. You got to know what you're talking about. But at the end of the day, as you develop yourself into that type of agent, then I would prefer a $30,000 commission over a $3,000 commission. And I'm pretty sure you all have the same sentiments. So that's what we're going to be shooting for as far as increasing our price point. Now, I'm not saying that we don't work with people at a lower price point. That's not what I'm saying, because there are individuals out there that feel that way, that don't work with anybody under a certain price point. I'm not saying that, because what I'm extremely passionate about is our community, and I'm extremely passionate about ownership in our community. So there are going to be some individuals that they can buy a house, but they're buying a house on that lower price point. What you got to figure out, what we have to do, and that's something we're going to talk about today, is that you got to be organized, and you have to be organized to a point to where you're not spending extra time on that client. Like if you're going to put in overtime, you want to put in overtime for that $1 million deal. You want to have some type of protocol or some type of system in place to where you can help that $100,000 client and still be able to get paid off of allowing them to realize the dream of home ownership. So, and we're going to talk about some of that today as well as in the future as we continue to have these calls. All right. So, because it didn't record last week, I want to go over just briefly accessing the 7-Dot Agent Training folder, just for those individuals that need assistance with that, because that is extremely key, and just talk about some of the items that's in there. And I've actually added some new items in there, and I'm going to keep adding information into that folder, because I want all of you all to be top notch as far as when it comes to information and data. We're in the information age, and I really believe that what's going to set real estate professionals apart moving forward is how much information, how much data do you have access to that other people don't have access to, and how much do you know as far as what's coming down the pipeline, and can you articulate that information and get to people before anybody else can get to them. It gives people the perception that you're just top notch, and what at the end of the day is going to increase your bottom line. So that's why I want to allow you all to access what's going on with that. So let me do a screen share. Okay, so looking inside of that folder, so this is the 7.8 folder. So you have additional items. So the additional items are just, items such as the logo. You'll need that. Just pretty much the additional items is when it comes to transactional stuff. So like if you ever need our logos because you're creating something, if you ever need for a rental commission, like the W-9 items, the commission disbursement form, you'll have access to those items inside of the 7 Dot Training folder. Okay, so then I also created a folder for the Create Your New Life Real Estate Training. So every week, as we're recording the trainings, we're going to save those in this folder. So you'll have access to them. You'll also have access to the agenda that I make. I'm going to have an agenda for every one of our trainings. So you have access to that agenda. Just so today's agenda is in there, and we're calling today's session You Have Got to Get Organized. So that agenda is already in there. So that's a couple of new items that I've added, as well as I've added this resources folder. So this is the folder of all the different resources that we use from a corporate level that we want to encourage you guys to use. I mean, if you have your own mortgage relationship, if you have your own contractors, then that's great. But if you don't have those, then you can go into this folder and you can see who our credit repair company is that we partner with. We'll see if that loads up. Yeah, so it's going to load up. Who our credit repair partner is, who is the mortgage lender that we work with, who, first-time home buyer classes. If you have clients that need to attend those classes, it gives you information concerning those classes that you can give to your client, and it's free. That class is free, and they're able to get certification to use for down payment assistance. So inside of that folder, it gives you those resources, as well as BPT, which is something that's what they're going to be talking about, that training. We're going to be doing that training on February 1st, but I'm not going to talk about that today. I'll talk about that either next week or the week prior to give you a little bit more insight on what that training is going to be about. But that's just a promotional flyer from them, as well as this Madhouse Renovations. Actually, it's a solid opportunity. What they do is if you have a seller and you want to list their home, but there's some repairs that need to be done, they'll actually do the work for the seller, as if they'll loan them the work, and then when the house closes, that's when they'll get paid. So that's another opportunity or another resource that you can offer, something of value that you can offer to your clients that other agents may not know about, may not be able to offer. And you'll be surprised, it really doesn't take a lot to have you seem a lot further ahead than just the average agent. I said this last week. There are 32,000 licensed real estate professionals in the city, in our metroplex. 32,000. So with that being the case, you have to be extremely intentional about setting yourself apart when it comes to all the other agents, because everybody knows an agent. Everybody knows that maybe their mama did real estate, or their cousin do real estate, or their uncle do real estate. Everybody knows a realtor. So you come across people, you got to make sure that you're bringing so much value to the table that it doesn't matter that they ain't do real estate. They ain't don't do real estate like me. That ain't's not going to take care of you like I'm going to take care of you. You need to choose me because I'm going to bring more to the table than any other real estate professional. I have access to information. I have more innovation than any other realtor that you can come with. So you want to position yourself that way. So that's in the Create Your New Life and the resources. So everything else is, again, the process is, if you're working with an apartment, you can go here and see what that process looks like. If you're working with a buyer, you can see what that process looks like. If you're working with a seller, if you're working with a tenant, or somebody that's looking to rent a house, you have that access to that process as well. So that, I just want to give you a quick rundown. You got to use Google Drive to access it. If you don't have a Gmail account, I recommend that everybody get a Gmail account, because that's really how we're going to be disseminating information. We're going to be doing it through Gmail, and I just like the way that Gmail allows that collaboration. Okay, so all right. So any questions? Do we have any questions? Just send your question through the group chat. I have my group chat up, so if I'm talking and you just have a question about something, you just want to pop it up there, just pop the question up there and I can go ahead and answer it through group chat. Or for those that have actually invited in, if your microphone is working, then just go ahead and chime in and I can talk and I can answer your question. Okay, so now current happenings in the city, that's another segment that I'm gonna have every week. Is and I encourage you all to do the same, to subscribe to the Houston Chronicle, subscribe to maybe the Wall Street Journal or USA Today, a national news source, and see what's coming down the pipeline. Because I'll use the Super Bowl as an example. And we're not going to go into too much detail about it today, but at one point we'll talk about it. How are you positioning yourself to take advantage of the Super Bowl being here next year? Super Bowl is going to be here in 2017. But what are you doing now to be able to leverage the fact that you're going to have this influx of people coming into your city? How are you going to be able to take advantage of that? So when it comes to stuff that's coming down the pipeline in the Chronicle or USA Today that's talking about the city or the surrounding areas, then if you get that information before somebody else does, then it puts you in a position to where you can position yourself to put something in place, something innovative, something creative in place. I would recommend that you go to city council meetings. The city council meetings are every week on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. You have the public city council meeting. You have your commissioner courts meeting that are once a week. And I don't know the date and time of that one off the top of my head right now, but it's on my calendar. So if anybody's interested of knowing when those dates and times are, let me know, and I can tell you the dates and times for the commissioner court meetings. These are the people that are making the decisions out here. People that are doing business with the city and getting these big dollar contracts, they're individuals that are on top of the local government and the decisions that the local government is making concerning, and a lot of it has to do with real estate. Houston is really driven by the developer. So when it comes to developers and land, Houston is really driven by that. So you really want to know what is going on when it comes to the council and the mayor's office and the commission and the county, the commissioner courts, and things of the sort. Because what you want to do is you want to be proactive. We can't be reactive in this market. You have to be, all right, I see that this is coming. Well, I'm going to model a portion of my business to where I can maximize the fact that this new builder is about to come. You know, one of the big things that's really taking place here is the layoffs. So with BP just announced again that they're laying off another 4,000 of their employees in this area. So what does that mean? What does layoffs mean? Well, layoffs mean that people are going to possibly get into a position to where they can't afford to pay their mortgages. And if they can't afford to pay their mortgages, then it may put them in a situation to where they may have to sell their property, or they may have to do a short sale to avoid foreclosure. I've been saying this. Really, I started saying this maybe about June or July of last year, that I think short sales are about to come back. And I think short sales are about to come back. I'm starting to feel that they went away for about 5 years. After about 2012, they went down. Between 2007 and 2012, that's what if you weren't doing short sales, you weren't making any money in this business. Everything was defaulted. Either you was an REO broker or you had to become versed in short sales. So at that time, 70% of the market was defaulted properties. It was short sales. So, and whether it was, again, a $100,000 property or a $1 million property, it didn't matter. Short sales was covering the gambit. So there was no agents out there that could say, hey, I'm not doing short sales, because those that said I'm not doing short sales during that time had to go get a part-time job. They had to get out the business. So I'm starting to see that surface. Just this week, I've had 2 people call me that are going to need to go on a short sale. I picked up a listing last week, and it was a short sale. So just over a matter of 2 weeks, we're not even a good 2 weeks into the year, and I've already picked up 3 clients that are having to go through short sales. So I think we're going to see some more of that. So I would recommend there's a designation called the Certified Distressed Property Expert, CDP. I would recommend you look into that designation, because it teaches you how to efficiently do short sales. Short sales is one of those things that it can, if you don't know what you're doing, it can take a lot of your time and you won't make any money. You could be working on a file for 9 months and then it gets foreclosed on, and you don't get any of that time back and you don't get paid. So being well versed in short sales is very key. So a CDP is a designation. It's one that I have. I went through that process, and I would recommend that you do the same to position yourselves and prepare yourselves, because I see that coming, because I'm just seeing how the energy, because of the barrel of oil, everybody keeps saying, well, the barrel of oil is low. The dollar per barrel is low when it comes to oil. But what does that mean? Well, what that means for us is, because we're in the energy core, where people are going to get laid off, and I mean, I hate to say it, but it's the reality of what's going to take place. People are going to start losing. People are losing their jobs, have been losing their jobs, and going to continue to lose jobs as long as the dollar per barrel stays at such a low amount. So with that being the case, people are going to either have to sell their products that they can't afford and they're going to have to downsize, or they're going to have to go through short sale because they have no other choice. So that's how we need to position ourselves when it comes to that. So that's I say that to, every week we're going to talk a little bit about what am I seeing coming down the pipeline and what are some things you all can be doing to prepare yourselves, position yourselves to take advantage of what I'm seeing in the news through the council. And then I encourage you all to do the same. Read the Houston Chronicle, go to the city council meetings, and get all that information for yourself as well. Okay, so as far as the training today, last week we talked about the job description. We talked about those 5 items. Do y'all remember what those 5 things were that you need to be doing? Can anybody mic work? Latanya, your mic work? Lead generate, yes, Shalonda. All right, so that's the first one, lead generate. What's the next one? Lead follow-up. All right, so lead generation, lead follow-up. All right, anybody remember what the third one was? Go on appointments, absolutely. Okay, and then the fourth one. So we got lead generate, we have lead follow-up, we have go on appointments. What's the fourth one? Negotiate contracts, absolutely. And what's the final one? Well, we got self-improvement, absolutely. All right, so that's the job description of a realtor here. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up again because, and I'm gonna be now. I promise you, every training, I'm gonna bring those up because it is so imperative that we cement that in your brain, because your business needs to be geared around those 5 things, those 5 items. I'm trying to pull it up because I want you to see it. I want you to hear it. I want you to see it. I want you to say it, because it is imperative that you build your real estate business around those 5 things: lead generation, lead follow-up, negotiating contracts, and self-improvement. On a daily basis, when you get out of your bed and you ask yourself, what am I going to do today? Those 5 things need to be included in your agenda. And if they're not, you're not positioning yourself to be successful in this business. So it's imperative. And again, because it's so important and it's so imperative, I'm going to be intentional about keeping that in front of you guys every week when we get together and we talk about this thing. And once we get the kinks worked out when it comes to the microphones, then we're going to be more intentional about our coaching. And that's where the coaching part comes from. It's what are the wins for the week. So the wins for the week in essence are how much what's the quantity of those 5 things that you've done for that week. So how many leads have you generated last week? How many appointments did you go on last week? How many contracts did you get fully executed last week? How many books or events or self-improvement items did you do last week? So that's what our coaching is really going to entail. Coaching is not a complicated thing. Coaching is just holding somebody accountable. So when we're coaching you, those are the things that we're going to be holding you accountable to, are those 5 items right here in your face. Let me pull it up. There we go. Those 5 items. Those are the things that we're going to be holding you accountable to on a consistent basis, and we want to train you and get you to the point to where you're holding yourself accountable to these things. One of the ways that we monitor here with the corporate team is every week at our staff meeting we ask the question and we measure how many contacts did we make as a team. Our goal is to do 300 between our team. My personal goal, even with all the stuff that I have going on, being the president of the company, and still kind of managing our team here at the office, my my personal goal is still 100 contacts a week. So I need to contacts a week to the team number at the end of the week. And I measure that. I use my phone. I have the note. One of the biggest complaints that I hear about keeping contact of or measuring the amount of contacts that you're making is that it's just hard to remember. I forget. I forget how many people I talk to. Well, it's just something that you got to do. If I'm a professional sports, whether that's football or if I'm in professional sports, then how can I improve myself if I don't have anything that I can measure my performance by? Like if I can't measure how many shots that I make, if I can't measure how many blocks that I've done, with football, how many receptions have I caught, how many yards do we average? Like if I don't have any mechanism in place to measure those items, then there's nothing for me to build upon and improve upon. So if I only did 15 contacts last week and I went through the whole week and I measured and I only did 15 contacts, then I know moving forward I need to increase the amount of contacts, the amount of people that I'm speaking to on a regular basis and letting them know the fact that I do real estate and staying on the forefront of their mind. So it gives me a starting place. So these are those 5 things that we're going to be coaching you all around every week. Okay, so now when we're talking about, let me get back in front of it. Okay, so when we're talking about coaching and coaching those 5 things, before we can get to a point to where you can really be successful in those items, you got to get organized. So before we really start pushing how many leads, how many appointments, how many contracts, before we start pushing that really, really hard, we got to make sure that your infrastructure is in place. So your infrastructure is you being organized. So when I say you being organized, the very first thing that I'm talking about is your calendar, right? So for those that are on the video, raise your hand and let me know if you have a calendar that you operate by every day. Let me see your hands that have a calendar that you're consistent with operating by every day. All right. Now, when I say you're operating by it every day, before you put your feet on the ground, you got to look at your calendar to determine what kind of clothes you're going to wear for the day, right? Now, the second thing that when we're talking about a calendar, we're going to talk about time blocking. How many of you all on here would, raise your hands? And for those that are in the audience, if you want to get on with the group chat, how many use time blocking on your calendar? How many people time block their calendar? Okay, so Sean. Okay, and that's typical. That's typical. Most people use a calendar, but they don't time block when they use their calendar. So we're going to talk about time blocking here today. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is show you my calendar. There's no point in me, asking you all to do something and I'm not doing it. Everything that I ask you to do, that I recommend that you do, is not from what I heard. It's from what I do in my own business and what we do in our own business. So this is actually my calendar. My calendar for today. And I know it seems pretty busy, and that's because I'm busy. But it's the difference between busy and being effective and being productive. So we want to make sure that we're not just busy, because busy don't put money in your bank account. Being productive is what puts money in your bank account. So we want to make sure that we're being productive. So you can see on my calendar, every week I have the Create Your New Life web training on my calendar. I have, weekly probate data, and that's something we'll talk about later. But this is my calendar right here. And every morning I have to pull my phone out and see what's on my calendar. Yesterday alone, I had to schedule 3 appointments without being at the office. This 2:30 appointment that I have today, I scheduled that not being at the office. This volunteering that I'm doing here at 5 o'clock, I scheduled that without being at the office. And I actually have a 4 o'clock appointment that I wasn't even able to put on my calendar yet, but I should have. But this 3:30 slot I know is going to be taken by a 4 o'clock listing appointment that I have, and I scheduled that listing appointment when I was out, when I wasn't in front of my computer. So it's imperative that you have a mechanism set up to where you can put your appointments on your calendar even when you're not in front of a computer. So that's why I recommend everybody get Google, because Google Calendar is an excellent resource when it comes to that. It collaborates with all of your phones, and it allows you to, when you add it to your phone, it'll automatically add it to your calendar on the computer. And when you add it to the calendar on the computer, it'll automatically add it to your phone. So it connects, it collaborates. So that's why I recommend you get Google Calendar and use Google Calendar for your digital calendar. All right, so now let's look to March, because I want to show you what time blocking looks like for those that are not familiar with it. So this is March. So I don't have anything scheduled for March. All right. So what time blocking is you see from the first thing is that you need to have a designated start time and a designated end time when it comes to your business. If you worked for somebody, if you had a job, for the most part, they tell you what time you need to come in and they tell you what time you're going to get off. Well, one of the first things that goes to the wayside when you become a real estate professional is that. You know, one of the things that people love about real estate is the flexibility aspect of it. But the flexibility piece is not always good if you're not able to contain it, put it in its proper place. That's what I would say. If you're not able to put it in its proper place, then the flexibility that comes with being a real estate professional and contractor can be destructive. So you have to have a start time every day. This is when I'm going to start my real estate, my hours, my work hours, and every day when end it. So for me, 8 o'clock is my hours. Now, if somebody were to ask me, well, Michael, what are your hours as a realtor? Well, to them, my hours are 9 to 5. So those are my consistent 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and by appointment on Saturday, and I don't work on Sundays. So that's the hours, my working hours that I would tell somebody else. But when it comes to me, and you can tell by my calendar, I actually start working at 8 o'clock because I need that first hour and a half to maybe get some stuff done without I don't want to say being bothered, but not having the obligation of having to answer my phone. If somebody calls me before 9 o'clock, I'm not obligated to answer my phone before 9 o'clock because I've already stated that my hours are 9 to 5. So I'm not obligated to answer my phone if somebody calls me before 9 o'clock. And trust me, people call me before 9 o'clock, just like people call me after 5 o'clock. But I'm not obligated to answer the phone at that time. Now, do I not answer the phone at that time? No. But I have the choice. There are plenty of times that somebody calls me before 9 o'clock and I'll answer the phone. But I'm not obligated to do it because I've already given you what my work hours are. So my first time block is from 8 to 9:30 if you look at Monday. So from 8 to 9:30, and the reason that I made it the color red is because that stuff doesn't make me money. It's important, but it doesn't directly lead to me having extra money making me more money. The analogy that I use, and I use this all the time, and this is probably an analogy that you're going to hear a lot, is I use the analogy of the fisherman, or the island. We'll talk about an island like Hawaii. So Hawaii is an island. So one of the most, what I would imagine, one of the most important individuals on an island would be the fishermen, because they're the ones that supply typically the food. They go out to the Gulf, they go out to the Pacific, and they catch, whether that's fish, shrimp, crab, whatever, and then they bring that back to the island. Okay, now, when they bring their catch back to the island, well, nobody can eat it like that. Like nobody eats just raw fish or raw seafood straight out of the water. Like there's something that has to happen first before you consume it. So you need other individuals there to clean the fish, cut the fish, to prepare the fish, to make the plates, the forks, the stove, all that stuff to get the raw fish in a position to where we can eat it and we can consume it. So there are other roles there that are important to that. But at the end of the day, if that fisherman stops bringing in the fish, then all those other roles are unnecessary and will eventually go away. You can have more people to clean the fish. You can have more people to cut the fish. You can have more people to cook the fish. You can increase more of that. But at the end of the day, none of that is going to lead to you eating more. The only role that's going to contribute to you eating more is the fisherman and the amount of fish he brings in on a day. More fish, you eat more. If he brings in less fish, you eat less. No matter how good your cookers are, no matter how good your fish cleaning people are, no matter how sound, you can have the best team in the world that do that. But if the fisherman brings in less fish, then we all going to eat less. So the stuff that happens in the red is not the fishing. That's the cleaning, that's the cooking, that's the admin work, that's the transactional stuff, that's the putting the listing on the HAR. That's the, now we got the contract and we need to send it to the title company and coordinate the earnest money getting there. That's the doing the property search, pulling up the properties to send to the buyer to prepare to take them out to look at the property. That's the returning the emails. That's stuff that happens in the red. It don't make me money. Me putting a house on the MLS doesn't directly contribute to me making money. Now, me going out there doing some lead generation to where I can get 2 or 3 more people that need me to put a house on the internet, now that's going to increase my money. But me just physically actually putting it on there, I either need to become very systematic on how I get it on there so I can get it on there quickly, or I need to get to a point to where I can hire somebody else to do it. And ultimately, I want to get all of you to the point to where you can hire somebody else to do those items, to do that red block for you. Okay, so then after 9:30 is when I get into, so on Mondays, for me, I do system tuning, development, system team development, and tuning up. Now, I made that green. So for me, that's green. For you all, that time needs to be lead generation, and you'll see that I have that on Tuesdays. That needs to be lead generation. You need to do lead generation every day, at least an hour. Now, at one point, I was doing it 3 hours a day. I was doing lead generation from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock every day, and I was focused on those contacts, making those contacts. I was doing that between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, and that's one of the things that really helped take our business to another level. So on Mondays, every Monday from 9:30 to 11:30 is when I do my system. I come in and I'm with my staff and I'm making sure, because my staff, especially like my customer relationship manager, April, is very important that we're on the same page as far as what her responsibilities are. Because my goal is 100 contacts a week. Her goal is 140 contacts a week, because that's her role. That's her job. Her job is to lead generate from 9 to 5 every day. So we put a goal on her to do 140 contacts, 15 appointments. She's our appointment setter. All right. So then after that, from 11:30 to 12:30 is when I meet with our buyer's agents, and that's every Monday. So I got 2 team agents, and we meet, we debrief what's going on with the buyers that we're working with. And then at 12:30 we do our staff meeting. So this is the same every Monday. It doesn't change. That's what I'm saying about time blocking. Every Monday, this is what my Monday looks like, and there's little to no adjustment. Now, I'm not saying that things come up. Well, yeah, things come up, and you can kind of get in there. I recommend that you operate according to your time block at least 80% of the time. So we're not asking for 100% to operate by at 100%. But we are saying try to get to a point to where you can do it at least 80% of the time. 80% of what this is your perfect day. All right, so then after that, so after our weekly meeting typically goes from 12:30 to 1:30, and then after that, I give myself about 30 minutes to get to if I have an appointment. So one thing that you'll notice about my time block is that I typically don't do any appointments before 12:30. I schedule all my appointments in the afternoon, and I've been doing that here now for maybe about 3 or 4 years. I've been operating by that time block to where I don't allow people to meet with me in the morning. And the reason that I do it that way is because it allows me to be able to capitalize on momentum. Momentum is very key when you're trying to get a lot of things done in a small amount of time. So by me having these large blocks of time to do things when it comes to administration or lead generation, then I can be more productive by blocking it out like that. And I have a better chance of getting it done. So if a person wants to schedule an appointment with me, then I'm the one that offer the time. So I don't ask them, oh, okay, you want to do a buyer's appointment? Well, what time works for you? I don't ever ask that. Person wants to do a buyer's appointment. Okay, hey, it looks like I have a slot on Monday at 2 o'clock. Does 2 o'clock work for you? If not 2 o'clock, are you able to meet at 3:30 on Tuesday? I tell them the time block. If a person says, hey, I'm available at 4 o'clock, well, if I don't have anything at 4, okay, well, can we do 3:30? Can we push it up 30 minutes, or can we maybe meet at 5? Right? I'm always going to be pushing them to uh, operate according to my calendar. One of the greatest sayings that I think somebody ever said to me was, if you don't control your calendar, somebody else will control it for you. And what I've seen a lot of in our industry is I've seen a lot of that we ebb and flow according to what the buyer wants and when he wants, or the seller wants and how they want, and we find ourselves just kind of running around in circles like a chicken with our head cut off. So we got to get more organized if we're going to be more successful and more productive. We have to operate by a regimen. The reason that most people don't want to do that is because they feel like, well, if I try to tell a client that I can't meet with them at 9 o'clock in the morning, then they'll go find another realtor. I'm not going to say that that's not going to happen. But what I'm going to tell you is that of all the time that I've been doing it these last years, I rarely, and when I say rarely, less than 5% of the time, maybe I would even say less than 1% of the time, will people leave you because you're not available for them. I think I can count on really one hand the amount of times that I've had clients or customers say, well, I'm not going to use you because I'm looking for that agent that is available 24 hours. And I'm not saying that sometimes you might have to be that agent, but you need to be that agent for somebody that's trying to do $1 million deal. Somebody trying to buy a $6 million house, all right, I'm going to be a 24-hour agent for you. But if you coming to me talking about a $150,000 house, that ain't even the average. The city of Houston average right now is $264, so you ain't even the average price point. And you want me to be a 24-hour realtor? I can't do that. I can't do that. So I'm okay with you going to work with somebody else, but I want to give you guys the assurance that I haven't seen a lot of that. So I haven't lost really many clients operating my schedule like this. What I have done is I've made more money operating like this, and that's the important. Not only have I made more money, I've also had more time to spend with my family, as well as spend that money. It's a better quality of life when it comes to this business when you operate according to some kind of plan like that. So we're still on Monday. So 2 o'clock I have meetings, and all right. So 3:30 and 5 o'clock for me is administration stuff. I have a lot of red on my folder, and on my calendar. The reason that I have a lot of red on my calendar, and I don't recommend that you all have nearly this amount of red on your calendar, but I have a lot of red on my calendar is because we're in between transaction coordinators. And because we're in between transaction coordinators, well, a couple of reasons. We're in between transaction coordinators, so I'm having to fill that role right now. The second thing is that I have a staff person who does my lead generation for me. So I can afford to be my transaction coordinator because I have somebody every day, 9 to 5, all they're doing is lead generating the entire day. So I have that luxury. You guys don't have that. So it's very imperative that you have that lead generation. So that's why there's a lot of red on my folder. Now, when I had a transaction coordinator, then my meeting slots would be 2 o'clock, 3:30, 5 o'clock, 6:30. All of those would be my meeting slots. On Tuesday, the same thing, 2 o'clock, 3:30, 5 o'clock, 6:30. And all of it will be green. So the only time that I really didn't have any administration time because I had staff. So when you're creating your calendar, you want to make sure that you have enough time to do your administration stuff. Before I had staff, I would do it in the morning, 8 to 9:30. Then I would do my lead generation. Then I would go on my appointments. Then I would do it in the evening. So if I did a 5 to 6 appointment, then maybe from 7 to 8, I would do some admin stuff. And then what I did was that I devoted an entire day. So on Wednesdays, I think Wednesday was my day. I didn't go on any meetings. I still did lead generation in the morning, but after 12 o'clock, I spent the rest of that day making sure that if I got behind on any administration stuff, that I could use it as a day to get caught up. So I never sacrificed my lead generation. I never sacrificed my appointments, but I would maybe use a Wednesday and maybe sometime on a Saturday or a Sunday to get caught up on my administration stuff. But I definitely want to make sure that I had more green on my calendar than I had red. So that's another reason why we use the colors, because it makes more of a statement. You can get a quick snapshot of, well, how productive was I last week? Well, how many of your green slots were filled in and how many of your red slots are on your calendar? And you have to first set yourself up with some type of program with the hopes of executing it that way. Like if you time block your calendar and you don't time block it with more spots for lead generation or income generating opportunities, if you don't initially create your model like that, then you really have no chance of operating like that. So this gives you the plan. You first get the plan and put that in place. This is what I want my day to look like, and I want to make sure that I have that lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, all that stuff covered. All right, when I do my planning, this is what I want my day to look like. This is what I want my week to look like. And I wouldn't plan it from a monthly basis. I mean, for the most part, you're gonna have to do it maybe from a weekly basis or a monthly basis, because there are items that come every month. So like we have with the Houston Black Real Estate Association, we have a lunch and learn every month. So I got to put that in my calendar because it comes every month. Commissioner course meetings, they're every month. You know, so the monthly, I would say don't try to plan your perfect anything no further than a month out. You know, the smaller the better, but I know there are things from a monthly standpoint that's going to affect your calendar. But you absolutely want to look at it from a weekly standpoint. You know, what does my ideal week look like? That's the smallest unit or the metric that I would recommend you all do. Now, as you're creating the calendars and you're creating your time block, again, I recommend that you go through Google because you can collaborate it with your phone. But some people, you know, they just prefer to have the old handy written calendar, just a calendar that they can write in. Some people just prefer that. Okay, so if you're that person, then you still need to do the same thing. You need to time block it, right? You still need to identify what hours, from an hourly standpoint, what your day is going to look like, and then stick to that as best as you can. And then have it with you, because if somebody calls you on the fly, you need to make sure that you get that into the calendar. Another statement that I always say that, hey, if it doesn't make it to my to-do list or if it doesn't make it to my calendar, then it doesn't exist. And that's on me. That puts the responsibility on me to make sure that if anybody calls me and says, hey, I want to meet with you, and I agree to it, it's got to go on that calendar as soon as possible. Because if it doesn't, I will forget it. And trust me, I forget when I don't put it on my calendar. If I don't put it on my calendar, you getting stood up. And that's not an indictment on the other person. That's an indictment on me because I didn't add it to my calendar. And then I have to apologize for it. So I force myself to make sure that anything that happens, it has to get on my calendar or it doesn't exist. And I'm real intentional about it. So for those that have just the handheld calendar that they're going to write in, you want to set it up. You want to do the same thing. Okay. So any questions before we move on to the next thing? If you want to set up, that's what I was going to say. If you want to set up your calendar and you want to kind of help me, you want me to help you walk you through it while you're working on it, you want to try to get me on the phone, and maybe I can walk you through and show you how to set it up kind of the way that I've set it up through Google or your written calendar. But any questions, anybody? No? Okay, good. All right, so we're going to be, it's 12:24. And again, I don't want to be keeping you guys all day with this training, but I want to make sure that it's effective for you. What we're going to be talking about next week, we're going to be talking about the second part of organization, which is your wise agent, or I'm sorry, not wise agent, CRM. And again, the wise agents that I recommend, the CRM that I recommend is wise agent, but it stands for client or customer relationship management system. As you're going out and you're getting your leads, where are you putting them? To where you can easily target market to them, you can easily gather people's information, and you can easily see if you've had contact with this person already. And you can have a place to put all your notes about people. You can put birthdays in there. You can put their kids' birthdays, wedding anniversaries. It really makes you look really, really sharp if on a person's birthday you call them and wish them a happy birthday. Or if somebody calls you and you have their contact up, or you're calling them and checking in with them, and you can recall the last thing that y'all talked about the last time y'all were on the phone. It makes you really look sharp. So your client relationship management system is what allows you that opportunity to be able to seem as if you have the memory of an elephant, when we don't. Don't rely on your memory. There are mechanisms out there that can do that for you and hold that data for you, and they're affordable. So next week we're going to spend some time, as we go through everything else, we're going to spend some time on that. So want to leave you guys with something. I like to start with some hot things. So we kind of talked about the CFPB training, and we talked about the short sale, preparing yourself for short sales and getting your CDP. And I also want to kind of leave you guys with something to think about. So I was reading in the Chronicle, and I pulled up that they were having an auction. They were auctioning out a 30,000 square foot property. This is in the Woodlands. 30,000 square feet, not the land, property, 30,000 square feet. And I was actually blown away by the number. The minimum bid was $6 million. $6 million for a 30,000 square foot complex. And immediately my brain started moving. Well, I mean, that seems like that's a no-brainer. If somebody had $6 million to put on something that was 30,000 square feet and 5 acres in the Woodlands. So I want to leave you with, you need to find those things. You need to find those things that are not just in the box of, oh, you want to buy a house, let me go to HAR and let me try to do a search for you. That's just, as we're moving, that's just not going to get it done. You have HAR. I really encourage all of you to get to, if you haven't signed up with your RPR, your Realtor Property Resource, sign up with that. Just yesterday, we were having a search for some clients, and we couldn't find it on HAR, and we had to use RPR. They have a tool on there to where you can search, you can do a school district search, and then they'll draw out the map for you, and then you can put your criteria in there, and then it'll pull up the properties for you, and then you just cross-reference them back into HAR. And we had to use that tool because this particular client wanted something that was rather unique. So you think outside the box at the end of the day is what I'm saying to you guys. You need to start, when you're doing your business, you need to figure out other sources of income when it comes to adding value to real estate transactions. We get paid when there's a transfer that takes place. You understand that, right? As a broker, the only time we get paid is when if there's a transfer of something between a buyer and a seller, or a seller to a buyer, or a tenant to a landlord. There has to be some type of transfer that takes place. And if no transfer takes place, then we don't get paid. Well, understand that there are so many different transfers that can take place that's based on your knowledge that can take place, and you get compensated because of that, because you put that deal together, or because you brokered that deal. That's what the term broker means. We put deals together. We problem solve. People have a problem, and we solve it for them. And because we solve it, we get compensated for it. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out how I can leverage that. Who can I put that $6 million opportunity in front of to where it's a win-win for them? Because, hey, you can start 3% of $6 million. I ain't even gonna say 3%, 6%. 6% of $3 million makes for a really nice 2016. Or 20, yeah, it was 2016, right? Yeah. So it makes for a real nice 2016. So again, that makes me round robin back to the importance of reading the newspaper, staying up on current events, what's happening in your local market, what things are happening, because that's when you're going to find those golden opportunities that everybody else doesn't know about. Well, before we wrap up today, anybody have any questions? Because really that last 30 minutes is really devoted towards if anybody has any questions and answering questions. So if nobody has any questions, then we're typically going to go from 11:30 to 12:30. So does anybody have any questions? They want me to expound upon anything with the group? Latanya? Because I know your microphone works, doesn't it, Latanya?
Yes, it does.
Think
Can you
it
go over
does? Okay.
the CRM again?
The CRM?
Yes.
The CRM? Okay,
Yes.
so that's
Yeah.
all right. So the CRM is thewiseagent.com. And we're going to go into more detail about that next week. If you're interested, before you sign up for it, there is a soft cost associated with it. But before you sign up for it, let me know so I can send you the referral link. And the reason we want to do it that way is another reason why I chose Wise Agent is because it affords you an opportunity that if you get 5 referrals, then your account will be free. So right now I'm at 4 referrals. So I get one more, I think, or maybe I'm at 3. I'm either at 3 or 4. If I get one more, then my account's gonna be free. And then every account after that, I can give to other people, to other agents, so we can get you all to get your account to be free as well. But I like that opportunity to have a free CRM at some point if you refer it to enough people. So that's why I use the CRM. I looked at Wise Agent, I looked at Act, I looked at Salesforce, Top Producer, I looked at pretty much all of them. And when it came to how much it costs and what I needed it for, I chose Wise Agent, and that's the one that I can train people on because I've been using it for the last, for some time now. So did that answer your question, Latanya?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Perfect. Okay, so Sean wanted to know about the production meeting, the day and the time. So we meet every Monday at 12:30, and you all are welcome to come to it whenever you want to. And you'll be able to see how our team operates. You'll be able to see what buyers we're actually working with, what listings that we're talking about, and where we are in the process with them. You'll actually see us go through our production numbers, like how many contacts, how many appointments did we go on, how many contracts did we get, how many contracts did we get fully executed, how many things did we close. We really don't measure closings. Most companies, most people, they measure closings. How many closings did you do for the month? We don't measure that because we feel like closings is a byproduct of the other stuff. If you make enough contacts, if you go on enough appointments, if you negotiate enough contracts, then the closings are gonna happen. That's just gonna happen. So we don't measure those. We measure the front end stuff, and then we enjoy the back end stuff. So you'll see us talk about that. How many leads did we generate that week? Not only how many contacts, but how many leads came in. How many thank you cards did we send out? It's another one of those things that's been lost, is people send handwritten thank you cards. And if you ever want to get on a regimen of sending out thank you cards, we have a lot of items of value at the office that all of you all have access to. We have thank you cards, so you don't have to go buy any. You just come pick up. I recommend you send out 10 a week. If you're gonna send out 10 a week, well, come pick up 10 of them and send them out. The Brian Buffini items of value that we get once a month are great things to hand out to possible clients. You don't always want it to be a hard sale of, hey, gimme, let me do business with you, let me sell your house, let me buy your house, let me do this, let me do that, pick me. You don't want that. You want them to want you. And the way that you get somebody to want you is that you offer something that they want. And for the most part, people want information. People want data. People want they want to see you as the expert. They want to feel like I better not make this move until I speak with Sean, or I speak with Latanya, or I speak with Shalane. I better not talk to nobody until I get Shalanda on board with this right here. I need to run this by.
Mm-mm. Oopsie, did it cut off? No.